Hello, and welcome to the John Eats Crow edition of Cascadia Inswinger. I'm going to start this episode off by giving two big apologies. The first one to the Vancouver Whitecaps. Last show, I totally bashed them, said they had no heart, they had no desire, and there was no way they were going to win this game. They proved me wrong there. And I also said that Montero was essentially washed up and has no business being on this Vancouver team. Well, apparently, either they listened to my show and wanted to prove me wrong, or the soccer gods are against me. One way or the other, I was totally wrong in both of those regards. The Vancouver Whitecaps came out and gave it to the Montreal Impact, ended up winning 3-1, riding a phenomenal game from Fredy Montero, who had a brace in this one. Eddie, you are a huge Montero fan. What do you have to say?
Well, man, he really did make you eat your words, as he had some sort of play in every single one of these goals. He had, as you said, the brace. He got the first and third goals, and he got an assist on the second goal.
Did they end up giving him an assist for that second goal? Because
Yes.
okay, so because when I first looked at the stat sheet, he was not on there, and I was like, "What?" He nutmegged past the guy to open up Milinkovic, and when he passed it across, it should have been the hockey assist, as they say. And when I looked at the stat sheet immediately following the game, it wasn't on there. But you say it's on there. Good, great for
It's
him.
on there now. I'm looking at the stats right now. And yeah, so he had a play in every single one of the goals. So good on him. And uh, he even set up for the PK that he took for the first goal uh, from Camacho punching him in the knee.
Let's talk about that for a moment. So Camacho gets taken down, and Freddie appears to walk over to help him up. And whatever was exchanged there, Camacho decides to punch him in the knee. And Montero goes down like a bundle of bricks. And I hear the announcer say that Montero like kind of Hollywooded it, kind of acted it up, flopped a little bit. What's your take? The dude got punched in the knee.
Well, first, I don't think he was going over to help him up. I think Montero probably went over to say, "Hey, you you're flopping around for no reason," and then the guy didn't. Uh, and then the guy took exception to that and decided to punch him in the knee. Doesn't matter how hard the guy punched him. When you look at the replay, it's a closed fist, and he goes for the knee. And if I'm Montero, hell yeah, I'm going to go down for that. I need to make sure the ref sees, hey, he just punched me. I've seen
Absolutely.
I've seen red cards for way less than that.
Oh, I've seen red cards for way less than that. It was flat out 100% a red card. And I remember the telecast panning over Thierry Henry's face, the coach of the Montreal Impact, and you could just see him in total disbelief. Montreal was playing for a spot in the Canadian Championship, and you're going to punch a guy in the knee in the 37th minute? Like, what were you thinking? If I were the ownership of Montreal, knowing that this guy probably just blew a spot in the Canadian Championship and the CCL for you, this guy's going to be riding the bench for a long time to redeem that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
For some teams, that would be a cause to get rid of a guy as well.
Yeah, well, I think there definitely will be some punishment for him, but there is the red card, and it was in the box. So Montero takes the PK, he buries it into the back of the net. Montero, got his mojo going. That wasn't it for him though, because 3 minutes later, we told you about his pass that nutmegged the defender and led to the second goal. So Vancouver went into halftime 2-0, and I'm sitting here going, wow, my prediction was way off. There's no way that Vancouver is going to lose this now. Of course, they give up the very next goal to make it 2-1, and now I'm kind of shaking in my boots, like maybe my prediction was right. But then Montero pulls it out again and scores with his weaker left foot off of a beautiful two-man sequence. If you haven't seen that two-man sequence, you need to go check that one out. Did you catch that, Eddie?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. In fact, I did not think that Montero was going to get that good of a shot off when he took that strike. And then I see it bounce off the side post and into the goal, and I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, it was gorgeous. And Owosu played great during that sequence. I think they passed it back and forth 3 or 4 times going towards goal, and then Montero buries it. So he ends up with a brace and an assist. I do want to comment. So this is where it gets really interesting. You're huge on Montero. I haven't been that big on him. I don't think Montero and coach Mark Dos Santos get along. And here's why. Montero opted out of the MIB tournament. When they came back, because he was not in sync with the team, Dos Santos left him in Vancouver instead of going east for their road games. I know you were questioning that. You're wondering why he wasn't there, what was going on. It was the coach's decision to leave him back, at least from what I got from the telecast, to leave him back. Now, he comes off the bench the last game. He gets to start in this one, and he goes off. Dos Santos subs him out at towards the end of the game, and Montero immediately walks off the field and kicks the sideboard and walks to go do his cooldown without saying a thing to the coach. So now we have to wonder, where does this play into it? We do know Montero can be a little bit of a diva from his times in Seattle. Do you think that this could end up spelling potential disaster when you have Montero and Mark Dos Santos feuding this way?
Well, it's if it goes bad for one of them, it's going to be the coach. It's always going to land on the coach. Um, you're coaching a club that is not in a playoff position. Had to play spoiler when it came to the Canadian Championship. You're having issues with your players, and from the way Montero played in the last match, one of your star players now, um, it just doesn't look good for the coach.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Dos Santos has to start him because of the game he just had. So now the question is does he change up his formation to make it two-man up top, Montero and Cavallini, which is what the announcers were discussing, that hopefully this game makes that happen? Or does Dos Santos continue to go with what he has and keep Cavallini up top and keep Theo Blair in the game, which Theo Bear had a terrible game. He was totally off. If I were the coach of the Whitecaps, Bear is going back to the bench, and I'm starting Montero. He's got the hot hand. He looked motivated. He looked rejuvenated. He would not just in his goals and his assists. The whole game, he was making great plays. He could have had a potential hat trick. He totally shanked a later goal. So if I am the Whitecaps coach, I swallow some of my pride and I start Montero and I try to make amends because if him and Cavallini both get going, this team could actually make a push for the playoffs.
Yeah, they're only 2 points out of the playoffs right now
Mm-hmm.
with 12 points. The last place playoff team has 14.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely can make that push if they hit on the right cylinders, which could be good for their next match. But before we get into the next match, I just got to point out to Vancouver fans, because John and I were talking about this just before we went on the air. He was saying on air that he was probably going to watch more of the Portland match yesterday. And it turns out he watched pretty much the entire Whitecaps match and actually missed both goals for Portland or for the Portland match. So he
Well,
you made him eat his words in more ways than one.
Vancouver made me a believer watching that game. And Montero was fun to watch. And so, yes, I will eat my words. I did watch more of the Vancouver match than the Portland match. I did get to watch some of both, though. Um, but going into their next match, now that we'll get done teasing me, we'll start going back forward to the next match. Vancouver gets to head stateside for their first match in the U.S. since the MIB tournament. You're
Sorry
good.
about that.
For their first match in the U.S. since the MIB tournament, they get to play in a very tough place. They're playing in RSL, which we saw that they tied the Sounders when the Sounders went there. They tied Portland in Portland 4-4. Vancouver gets their shot at them now. Eddie, do you think Vancouver's going to use this momentum against RSL?
I feel like they have to. I mean, um, RSL just lost 5-0 to their rivals Colorado in RSL. And when you're Vancouver coming off a victory like you just did, you got to take advantage of that. And I think Vancouver, if they play like they did yesterday, then they can definitely go into RSL and take 3 points. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like just a bandwagon hype man right now, but if they play like they did yesterday, they can for sure go in and get those 3 points from RSL.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that's going to also depend on Mark Dos Santos's lineup decisions. I think if he goes out with the firepower that he's capable of with Montero and Cavallini, they can become a dangerous team. I do think I'm leaning towards RSL in this one. I don't think RSL loses back-to-back games at home. I also see them pulling what the Sounders did after losing to their rivals. The Sounders lost to Portland, and then they went out and smashed San Jose 7-1. I see RSL having kind of that same fire, and I see RSL not wanting to lose back-to-back, especially after losing 5-0. So knowing that RSL is on the redemption path from their last game, I think Vancouver's in for a really tough game.
So you think that RSL is going to win this one? What do you think the scoreline is going to be?
I've got the scoreline as 2-1, 2-1 RSL. Vancouver's gonna take their loss on this one. First game stateside, it's gonna take them a little bit more time to get going. Um, in RSL, it's a very tough place to play. The little bit of altitude where they play, and that can play a factor as well. So I don't think they have what it takes. But you know what? I'm gonna keep predicting against Vancouver because every time I do, they seem to, you know, find a way to pull it out, make me eat some crow. So
Well, I don't think that Vancouver's going to necessarily get the victory. It doesn't matter to me if there's fans in the crowd or not. It is still the factor of traveling and also the factor of the altitude as well. Um, but I don't see Vancouver coming out with nothing. I think that Vancouver is going to go into RSL and at least come out with a point. I think the scoreline is going to be 2-2, and I'm thinking Montero is going to be in this match in the starting lineup and is going to again play a role in at least one of the goals.
well, we can only wait to find out. For those of you Vancouver fans who haven't seen RSL in a while because you guys have been staying up in Canada, they've got some names I'm going to drop for you to watch out for. Damir Krylak, he's essentially their number 10, their Nico Ladero, their Diego Valeri. He's got 4 goals on the season. Justin Merrim, who played for Columbus Crew for several years. If you've been a MLS fan for a while, Justin Merrim has 2 goals, and Corey Baird, who is their forward and their guy who they expect to just dribble past people sometimes, he has 2 goals as well. But from a team standpoint, RSL plays through all of their players. They actually have 9 different guys with a goal this season, which says a lot for this team. Most teams have maybe 5 or 6 goal scorers. This team has 9, so they're going to find multiple ways to beat you. They don't particularly have one strategy or the next, other than we're going to try to pass the ball into Baird and hope he creates some chaos, and we'll have runners there. So RSL is a tough matchup. I hope you guys enjoy being able to watch a stateside team. Other than that, Eddie, is there any last words you have for our Vancouver fans?
Well, one thing I would like to say is the good news with facing RSL, no Nick Rimando, as he retired after last season. And I think that has played a factor in RSL's matches this season and is definitely one of the key factors of, I think, getting points out of this match.
Yeah, he's not going to be there to make all the crazy saves he made in the past, which is why teams like Colorado dropped 5 on him, Portland dropped 4 on them. Those games didn't happen with Ramondo in goal. They just never occurred. So there's chances. The chances will be there for Vancouver. They just got to take them.
Exactly.
Well, that's all we have for you guys today. I hope you guys let us know your thoughts. Give us your score lines if you're a little bit more positive towards Vancouver than we are for this game. But other than that, hope you guys enjoy watching some soccer, and go Cascadia.